What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we're going to be going over the full review of the Sig Sauer P210 Carry. The Sig Sauer P210 Carry is a new gun for 2022. However, it's based on a model that's been around for a long time, the standard P210, which is considered by many to be the highest quality service pistol ever made. The P210 has a lineage that's been over 60 years now. It's been made in several different countries, and for good reason. It is one of the most accurate, durable, and reliable service pistols of the last few decades. The P210 Carry is a departure from that with a lot of new features to make it ideal for concealed carry, especially for those who are already into the Sig P210 series. This gun is an alloyed frame, 4.1 inch barreled, single action only 9mm pistol with a capacity of 8 or 9 rounds depending on which magazine you decide to use. It has a lot less features and a little bit more classic look and feel than your standard modern pistol that's coming out today, obviously because it's based on a gun that's much older. However, they did add some features on it to introduce it into the 21st century, unlike the standard P210. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys that we're able to do videos like this. I purchased this gun with the Patreon dollars from my local shields, so I appreciate that. If you want to support the channel, you like the unbiased content, please go down to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would go down and donate to those kids. It's a youth shelter, and they could always use your support. And then finally, I do want to thank Manning & Sons for not only sponsoring this review, but sponsoring several thousand-round reviews. They are really helping us out. They're the biggest sponsor of the channel. He's also a really good guy. I talk to him on the phone about guns all the time. He's a gun nerd just like me. So go down and check out Manning & Sons. First, let's talk about the sights themselves. They changed the sights from the standard target sights, and they added some Sig Nightlight tritium sights on it. So it's a 3-dot setup with tritium, which works really well in close range and in low light conditions, which is ideal for a carry gun. If you're expecting to get the accuracy of the standard 210 target, you're going to be let down a little bit by these sights and a couple of more features. However, it does make it a much more robust design, and close range encounters are what you're going to be dealing with the concealed carry pistol, so I think it actually makes a lot of sense. Now, the gun does come with an 8-round and a 9-round magazine. As you can see here, I actually have some of the target magazines as well. They actually have an extended base plate that doesn't allow any capacity, but it's just to fit into the target grip, whereas the 210 carry magazines just come with a little bit of lip on there, and it gives you just a little bit more purchase on the gun, as you can see right there. Now, the Sig P210 actually feels really good. Another thing that they changed on it is going to be these G10 grips here as opposed to the standard wood target grips. Well, I keep talking about it, so let's just show it. 210 target, as you can see here, has a much bigger grip, much thicker, although it has the same capacity, which is a little strange. But you can see here, for bigger hands, this is more ideal, whereas the 210 carry has a much smaller, almost by about 50% grip, which is great for carry. It really is, because the grip of a gun is one of the hardest to conceal, and it's one of the most uncomfortable. That being said, it's almost so small for me. I had an issue shooting it at distance, but also up close fast, simply because there's very little space for my support hand, and considering it is a full-size 30-ounce 4.1-inch gun, not full-size, but pretty close, it had a very small grip by comparison to some of the other guns. On top of that, we don't have a rail here for a light or a laser, anything you want to put up here, and for this size of gun and for this philosophy of use, I do like to have the option to put a light if I want. Because it doesn't have a light rail, it also loses a bit of recoil control, which we'll get to later, because there's just less weight up front. Now, as you can see here, we do have a single-sided safety. It does work really well, and it is extremely large, so using it as a recoil control device is awesome. We also have a very large slide release here, slide stop slide release, which does work pretty well, but sometimes when I'm trying to lock the slide back, it doesn't want to lock back because it does have a very stiff recoil spring. That being said, the serrations on the gun not only look good, but work really well. They are almost exactly the same as the standard 210. And then we have the amazing 210 trigger here, which is a little bit different than the target or the standard 210 as well. Now, the barrel material is carbon steel, and the barrel itself is shockingly accurate. It's just really a matter of whether or not you can actually get that performance out of it. I'm a lot more accurate with the target, just simply because it's got a bigger grip. I can get more of my hand on it, and the trigger is a little bit lighter than it is in the carry. carry. That is kind of nice. On top of that, it does have adjustable target sights, as you can see there, which I mentioned earlier. So accuracy on the 210 is really good, able to hit at 75 yards pretty much at will, but once I get out to 100, that falls off. But for most people, you're never going to be shooting past 10 yards, so the 210 is amazing. That being said, it does have a limited capacity in exchange for great accuracy, so if you're not going to use the accuracy, maybe this isn't the gun for you. Now, as far as the reliability goes, we did shoot Blazer Brass 115 through this. We did shoot Phoenix 115 grain remanufactured, which I would not recommend, but it did run it just fine. And we also shot Federal 115 grain. All that ammo was supplied by Manning & Sons, so we really appreciate them sponsoring this 1,000 round review. That ammunition was 100% reliable, and no shocker there, because the P210 not only does have tight tolerances to allow good accuracy, but it also keeps its reliability due to the high manufacturing standard that they set for these guns. You can see that in the actual look of the gun, and you can see that in the performance of the gun as well. Everything is machined perfectly. Everything looks amazing. After tons and tons of rounds and getting beat up and thrown in and out of my gun safe, this gun still has very, very little wear marks or anything like that on it. It didn't get any holster use because I don't have a 210 holster, but as you can see, it is not only a beautiful gun with great lines, but it is very durable, reliable, and robust as well, which is nice. No malfunctions whatsoever with a bunch of different types of ammunition, and also no wear marks whatsoever after a lot of hard use. Just shows the quality that they actually put into the gun, and big ups to Sig for that. Now let's get to the trigger, and let's talk about how the trigger is really good, but it's not necessarily my favorite. So with accuracy, you do want a light trigger with a short overall travel to eliminate some of the variables with trigger control, because trigger control is the hardest fundamental of marksmanship to actually control yourself, so the lighter the trigger, generally the easier that is. So let's take a look at it here, and we can see that it does have a very light 3-pound trigger with a very short overall trigger travel, which is very good. That's good for accuracy, which is why you can see in the video I'm able to hit at distances I probably shouldn't with these relatively thick carry sights. Now, the reset, however, is not something I absolutely love, because you can see here, when you let the trigger out, it actually is quite a bit further than a standard 1911. You can see a lot of play here before it resets, and then it finally resets. So since I shoot so many 1911s, and this is sort of a Euro 1911, I end up short stroking the gun a lot just because it's so similar, but not quite the same. Once you get used to it though, you still can get a good bit of rapid fire to this gun, but it's not going to be as short as something like a standard 1911 here. This is a Gerson, so it's not really in the price point, but you can still see that the trigger reset is much shorter and much faster, allowing for a lot higher rate of fire with the 1911. The 1911 also has a single stack magazine. However, it is capable of more rounds just because the Wilson Combat 10 rounders are out, so you can get 10+1 in this gun as opposed to only 9+1 in this gun. Not a big deal, but the grip for me on the 1911 is a little bit more comfortable. Plus, there are a lot more grip options available for the 1911 as well, so if you don't like the grip, you can change it, whereas the 210, as of right now, I think you have what you have. The other thing with the 1911 is you're going to have a lot more aftermarket support, so sights, red dots, triggers, whatever the hell you want, you're going to be able to get. So the 1911 is the 1911 for a reason. But the 210 also is amazing in its own right. But is it a good carry gun is the issue. It has been a duty gun and it has been a target gun for a long time. But flexing it into a carry gun, especially in 2022, with guns like the Sig P210 XL, which are half the weight of this gun, half the size, hold twice the rounds. I mean, that's a tough sell. Shield Plus is in there as well, along with the Glock variants, the Shadow System CR920. All those guns are going to be lighter, smaller, more capacity, and probably equal in the actual accuracy department, simply because they probably have a little worse trigger, but they're going to be red dot capable, unlike the 210 Carry, which is the thing that I kind of am going to knock it for. We already have a classic version. We have several classic versions. Let's take this into the 21st century. Let's put a double stack mag on this SIG. Let's use the same technology of the P365. Let's double stack the mag. Let's add a red dot. Let's add an optic rail, and you're going to have really something that modern people are going to buy. The issue with the 210 Carry is it's so similar to the old one that you might as well just buy the old one and get better performance. But if you're going to carry the gun, you might as well buy a different carry gun. In all fairness, I don't really see a reason why I would carry this other than it looks great and it's really accurate, but it's not any more accurate than a lot of other guns that I could carry as well. For example, like the Staccato C2, which is lighter, more capacity, and even more accurate and red dot capable. Now, the C2 is going to be about $500 more than the 210, but the 210 still is very expensive, coming in somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500. It's kind of a hard sell, personally, for the modern crowd, just because 8+1, $1,500, 30 ounces. Well, those stats just don't really add up to its peer group. And sadly, it was an amazing gun in 1960 something, and the Target still is an amazing gun today because of its capability, looks, and overall feel. But honestly, I just don't feel like the Carry really does enough for me to recommend it at the $1,500 price point. If you shoot these a lot and you want to carry a gun with similar ergonomics, similar magazines, I totally get that. That's one of the attractions that I had to the gun. But based on its own merits, the 210 Carry just doesn't do it for me. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.